Imagine waking up to the news that the Detroit Pistons just traded for Anthony Davis. Would it be the move that finally revives the franchise, or a risk that sets them back years? Today, we're breaking down the rumor shaking the NBA world, and trust me, this one might be big. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and drop your thoughts below, because today's topic could change the future of the Detroit Pistons. We're diving into the growing rumor, should the Pistons make a blockbuster trade for Anthony Davis? We're talking potential trade packages, the pros, the cons, and whether this is a move Detroit should even consider. Now, everyone who follows the NBA knows this. Anthony Davis is still one of the most dominant forces in basketball when he's healthy. He's a top-tier defender, an elite rim protector, a versatile scorer, and the type of talent almost no team ever gets access to unless they're already a contender, or unless something is going wrong behind the scenes. That's what makes this rumor so fascinating. The Lakers have been unpredictable. They've made puzzling moves, had issues with consistency, and sometimes seem unsure whether to fully commit to competing right now or start preparing for life after LeBron. Meanwhile, Detroit is stuck in rebuild after rebuild, losing seasons piling up and fan frustration hitting new levels. And when you put those two situations together, people start wondering, is there a deal to be made? Let's talk about what the Pistons would actually have to give up, because no matter how we slice it, Anthony Davis isn't coming cheap. The first possible trade people have suggested is one that centers around Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Stewart, a 2026 first-round pick, and a 2028 first-round pick. That's a ton of future value, like a lot. But the idea here is that Detroit gets to keep its biggest building blocks, Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. Cade remains the franchise guard, a player you can build your offense around for the next decade. Duren stays as the young, physical, explosive big who's showing star potential. Detroit gives up its depth and future picks, but maintains its core identity. But then you've got the true blockbuster option, the version that would make even neutral NBA fans sit up and say, wow, okay, that's a franchise-changing trade. This one includes Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, Bojan Bogdanovic, and 2 first-round picks. Now that is an all-in move. Giving up Duren would hurt a lot. He's young, he's talented, he's improving fast, and he's cheap for years. Losing Ivey means losing a dynamic scoring guard who still has upside. And throwing in first-round picks means Detroit is sacrificing flexibility for the long term. But in exchange, you get Anthony Davis, a superstar who instantly becomes your best player. That's why this version is so dramatic. It redefines the team overnight. There's also a middle ground option that people have thrown around, a package centered on Ausar Thompson, Marvin Bagley III, and a first-round pick. Ausar is already becoming a fan favorite in Detroit. Fantastic defense, hustle, athleticism, energy. Giving him up would hurt, but it's not quite the same as losing Cade or Duren. Bagley is mostly included for contract purposes. And although giving up Ausar and a pick is still painful, it's far more manageable than gutting your entire future. That's the kind of trade that lets Detroit acquire a superstar while still keeping most of its young foundation intact. But what are the actual advantages? Why even entertain this idea? The first and most obvious reason is that Anthony Davis brings superstar power. Detroit hasn't had a true superstar caliber player since prime Blake Griffin, and even that window is short. Before that, you probably have to go all the way back to the early 2000s Pistons era, but that was a championship team built on collective excellence, not individual stardom. AD gives Detroit something they simply have not had in years, a player who can take over games on both ends of the floor. Imagine Cade Cunningham running the offense with Anthony Davis setting screens, rolling to the basket, popping for mid-range jumpers, or anchoring the paint. Imagine the pick-and-roll possibilities. Imagine the defensive impact. Davis instantly transforms the Pistons from one of the league's worst defensive teams into a much more competent, physical, intimidating unit. He's one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. He can guard multiple positions. He makes everyone else's job easier. Young guys like Asar, Sasser, and whoever stays on the roster would suddenly have a safety net behind them. Another huge benefit, relevance. Detroit has been irrelevant for too long. Adding Anthony Davis flips that instantly. Suddenly, the Pistons are on national broadcasts. Suddenly, free agents pay attention. Suddenly, fans around the league actually care about Detroit basketball again. And sometimes, that matters just as much as what happens on the court. Relevance attracts talent. Talent attracts winning. But of course, there's a massive downside, and it starts with two words every NBA fan knows all too well: injury history. Anthony Davis is incredible when he's healthy, but the when he's healthy part is the problem. Detroit has been rebuilding for years. The last thing they need is to give up multiple young talents and future picks for a superstar who only plays 45 games a season. AD is resilient, he's tough, he plays through pain, but the body doesn't lie. Big men break down. And Detroit cannot afford to make a franchise-altering trade only to watch their star sit out every few weeks. The second major risk is the cost itself. Rebuilding teams rely heavily on draft picks and young players. That's their lifeline. That's their hope. Trading away too many picks and too many young prospects can leave a team stuck in the middle, good enough to win some games, not good enough to compete for a championship, and with no assets left to improve. Detroit has been stuck in that kind of limbo before. They know how dangerous it is. And the third concern is this. Even with Anthony Davis, are the Pistons a true contender? The honest answer might be no. They'd be significantly better, no question. They'd compete for a playoff spot immediately. But would they beat teams like Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, or even New York in a 7-game series? Probably not. Not yet. So if Detroit goes all in too early, they risk shortening their rebuild without actually securing a championship window. So, what's the final verdict? Should the Pistons pull the trigger? The truth is, it depends entirely on what Detroit wants to be. If the front office is tired of patience, tired of losing, tired of waiting for young talent to develop, then yes, trading for Anthony Davis could be the big swing they've been dreaming about. It would change the team instantly. It would give Cade the help he desperately needs. It would signal to the league that Detroit is done rebuilding and ready to compete. But if the Pistons believe in their young core, if they want to grow organically, if they want to see what their draft picks can become, and if they're playing the long game, then this move might be too expensive, too risky, and simply too soon. The NBA has shown time and time again that the teams who get impatient often pay the price. And now, the most important part. What do you think? Should the Detroit Pistons make a blockbuster trade for Anthony Davis? Would this move bring success back to the Motor City? Or would it be a mistake they regret for years to come? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't hold back. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe for more NBA breakdowns, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a trade rumor or analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.